Hello and welcome. This is Ayana Leahy, and I am so very happy that you are here with all of us today in this week's episode of Be1 Be You. We are diving into the theme, cracking the code of using and being used. A gigantic topic. We are living in a time period of using and abusing and being given the approval for being separate from oneself. This has been going on for decades in this 20th and 21st century and before. The social and cultural values of what's real has been lost. And yes, you are living in a time period of having so many choices and options that it becomes impossible in any moment unless you have developed and perfected your relationship with Source of what's really real. Many of you began with parents who were not self-sourcing, meaning they did not receive their energetic guidance, life force energies, spiritual connection from within themselves. They got it from what they did, the job they had, their family system, and you and or your siblings. And when you are used by a parent, it furthers into, it continues forward into how you are then setting yourself up to be loved through allowing yourself to be used. And many of you have stifled or repressed or pushed down your own life force expressions and allow the ignitions to happen, but do not know how to cross the bridge into really being and manifesting you into the world so that you can create the expression of you and have that fruitful and abundant. So you then would revert to a pattern where you are having to use something to show how smart you are, how creative you are, how loving you are, dignified, powerful, abundant, responsible, and getting hooked in, really hooked up with a belief system that's filled with certain behaviors and actions that we can convince ourselves is truly real. When you tap into the living source within you, that infinite source, I call it, there are many names for the it, and it will help dissolve what's false in you and will then open up the wellspring within inside of yourself to help you flourish and grow because you're having new perspectives. A lot of times grief will come up because you're having to let go of the way you've been doing things. And it wasn't necessarily bad or wrong. It's just that you're done with doing things a certain way. And so you're complete. And yet, how do we know when we're complete? There's a sense of urgency and or a sense of hurt and or a sense of wonder of what's going on. And instead of staying numb to it or apprehensive or judgmental or aloof, what we're doing is we are turning to that effervescent flow that when you open that door, that geyser comes through with inside of yourself, and it will definitely shake you up. It will rock your world. And then what do you do when you start rocking? Well, it's real easy when you start hitting those core places within inside of yourself to hold on to anything and to hold on what you believe will help keep you steady, help make you steady. And oftentimes that turns into a control pattern. And we've all been there. And the whole key is what's going to shake you loose from holding on to being in control. The more hurt that you've been through, the harder you're going to hold on. The stronger and harder that you hold on, the more that you've got to use a behavior, use a substance, use a pattern, use a belief, go into separation, isolation, or overly interactive. What do you do when you close your own heart down because you've let yourself be used so many times that sometimes it feels like there's just nothing left inside? Or perhaps you just keep pouring it on and you try to keep giving and showing up. But you realize that there's time now to end how you are in your own cycle of allowing yourself to be used, and also then how you would use something else. It takes a lot of self-inquiry, enough self-inquiry, a plentiful amount, to find the love inside that wasn't seen, the love that wasn't heard, the love that wasn't received. That love inside is what you want to show up doing for yourself and in relationship with someone else, intimately, deeply. You want to be aware of what they weren't given and show up that when they're having a hard time, even if they don't know why, that you're there holding that space to really see and hear and receive them. Otherwise, the person that is trying to communicate and try to find a way to show up with you, remember, you're the chosen person. You have to know if you're being used or if the person trusts you so much that they're handing over a moment of realizing a pattern and choosing to share what's going on within them with you. And when you end your cycles of being used, you show up when a person is coming there in your space and you give them that time, you give them that space and attention. How do you use? What do you use to avoid feeling pain, to avoid your creative energies, creative power, to avoid having to feel? What do you do? What do you use? Is it a food, beverage, a behavior, media? How do you show up? And do you show up for you? What can you do? What can you decide to open to just be with yourself without checking out, without going to sleep, without getting high, without indulging in external to pacify what's going on inside, because you may not know what's really happening, going on with you or someone else. What can you do to become more honest with yourself and to end the cycles that began a long time ago, possibly in lifetimes past and in this lifetime, the codes within you, their imprints? How did your mom ask you to show up for her, to make her feel better about herself? How did your father show up and want you and need you to make him feel better about himself? What did you have to do? How much of your relationship was based upon them needing that something from you that would make them feel good about how they parent, for instance? We all wake up to realize how much we leave ourselves, and then we have to come back. And then we come back to ourself, and that self that we find evolves and grows, and it has to have the walls around it collapse also, so that as you spiritually grow, meaning through your physical limitations into and through what you've held on to that served a purpose for a while to hold things together, but then things can begin to crack open. And as they crack open, what do? You want to go naked, meaning you want to be with your raw self and be in its rawness. And if you have a really dear friend, a lover, partner, who is right there knowing what you go through when you're raw, they're going to hold that space for you to be raw without having to give opinions or judgments. Refrain. Stop from using one of your own patterns to make yourself feel comfortable. Another person's discomfort might make you feel uncomfortable. Know how to be with your own discomfort. We all learn. We all hurt inside and have to break through the ways that we don't even know what's going on inside. Moments when you don't want to use anyone or anything. You don't want to be used, but you want to just face it. One of the best things to do is to hold a connection with infinite source through your heart, through your mind, through a secret interpersonal prayer, salutation, being in nature. Always choose what's going to mirror back to you. If you have the codes within you of being rejected, communicate if you feel rejected. Find out where the other person, whether a friend, a lover, partner, is coming from. If you're raising a child, explain and point out that they don't have to use a behavior to stay protected, that you're going to make it safe for them to open up. You'll notice that most disagreements and arguments happen through one or both people not feeling safe to be who they are inside. In your personal, spiritual soul journey, you are cracking the codes within you of how you've been used so that you don't allow anyone else to do that, and also not allow a part of your own self to use you, to shut you down, to ignore you, deny you. And you end that relationship within yourself so that that part of you can't use you. And then you make the choice to recognize through observation and feeling what you are using in order to numb down, dumb down, separate, ABR, abandon, betray, and reject yourself, so that you can come through the cycles of the old codes that have come from being asleep inside, numb inside, and hurting inside, into recognizing what really makes you feel alive, what gift you want to give to the other person, how you want to show up, and being in that clarity of you, so that your clarity is giving the love that you are. And if you're not able to give the love that you really are, then it's just the right moment, just the right time to receive the you that wants to be a part of all of the love inside of you and wants to take you further, wants to take you deeper, wider, and higher. And in that reunion with inside of yourself, you have that anchor point to grow from. Life will crack us through having to read the news, watch the news, feel what's going on, to crack us into being one in the source within ourself and come out of a reactionary place, a reactionary step that oftentimes creates greater separation. Here you are at the threshold of recognizing your own feelings inside, to get to know them and to choose to not numb them, separate from them, but to actually be in the center point where opposites meet inside of you, and to allow your heart to open to that center point, that meeting point. It's in your body. It's in your lower belly, your chest. You meet the truth within you. And here in the Spirit Gateways Institute, in all of the courses and trainings and programs, we are providing all of the courses, trainings, and programs in the Evolutionary Empowerment Global Village membership program. And you are given the opportunity to be in a high-powered mentoring group. And you can choose which tier or level you wish to come in at. And here you will be receiving the tools and practices and the techniques to help you through your journey back home into you. Thank you so very much for being here with all of us and holding you in deep, deep love. May you have a very beautiful week, a breakthrough week. Holding you in much love. Until next week, this is Ayana Lahi.